All right. Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to welcome everyone to our inaugural Agile HR series. So today we have a very special topic that we're going to speak about. And we have a special speaker also from the OKR Institute, Dirk. Thank you so much for being with us today. So the topic that we're going to have for today's session is OKR Introductory Course for Organizations. So I guess it's that time of the year where, we're approaching the new year and we want to plan ahead what is the objective, for companies, what direction and how would you want to do it. And I believe that will give you, the tips and tricks, the basics of, what is OKR, giving you the foundations and everything. I would like to thank Dirk again for his willingness to, spend his time on a Wednesday. Just to give everyone some background information about Agile HR series. So this series is definitely dedicated for HR professionals to understand more about different spectrum of human resources issues and human resources trends and topics. So today we start with objective key results, aka OKR. So I would like to introduce Dirk a bit. So actually, Dirk has a vast, I would say, experience on consulting companies on OKR strategies, and also he has worked with over like 1,000, I would say, companies across the years, and he actually specializes in performance management like OKRs, KPI, strategy planning, and things like that lah. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to you, Dirk, and feel free to start your session.
Yeah, thanks, Siti, for the warm introduction. And I'm very excited to talk today about this hot topic, OKRs. And yeah, I don't want to talk so much about myself. So I think Siti covered a lot of things. And I want to share my screen to jump directly into the presentation. Yeah. Today, I want to talk to you and explain how to implement successfully OKRs in your organization in a sustainable way. My name is Dirk Schmellenkamp, and as you can hear, I'm from Germany, from Munich, but I have been living here in Malaysia for more than 10 years, so I'm half Malaysian already. Today, I want to, let me see, go to the next slide. I want to cover OKRs, what are OKRs and how to draft OKRs, and then also showcase a couple of good and bad examples. And at the end of the presentation, we have a Q&A session, because I think there are a lot of questions around OKRs. There are a lot of in the press at the moment, and a lot of organizations implementing OKRs. So in different kind of industries, of course. So I'm happy to answer at the end of the presentation your questions, and please share any questions. I always learn also from the participants what kind of needs and requirements they have. So Larry Page, the CEO of Google or founder of Google, he said OKRs have helped us to 10 times growth many times over. And Google, they have been applying OKRs for more than 20 years. Why do I showcase here Google? Because a lot of books and a lot of videos, they covering Google, and companies who want to implement OKRs, they want to do it the same like Google. But you have to consider Google has been training their OKR muscle for so long, and it took a while till OKRs became part of their DNA. So why I show this example with Google is you need to have some time, run through a couple of OKR cycles to get better and better and build up your OKR muscle. So you can't expect to go to the fitness studio and lift 200 kilograms straight away. So you need to build up your muscle first. A brief history about OKRs and how it evolved. OKRs are there for over 40 years. You can't imagine it, but it's a very actually old agile framework. And Andy Grove, he created OKRs based on MBOs, as management by objectives, as he wanted to create something which is more more engaging and more agile, of course, and brings alignment in the organization, and have at the same time a very effective execution strategy tool. At this time, I have to mention, Intel was in the late 70s in a red ocean. They were competing with Motorola, and Motorola was ahead of Intel. And when they applied OKRs in the 80s, they outperformed their competitors, especially Motorola, at this time. So it really helped them to outperform their peer group and focus what matters. John Doerr, who used to work with Intel, with Andy Grove together, he introduced to Google OKRs end of the 90s. And what I mentioned before, Google then have been applying OKRs for more than 20 years. And of course, a lot of people, a lot of organizations were looking what Google is doing. Yeah? And Google published a video, very famous video, 2010, 2012, I assume, with over 3 million clicks, how OKR works. Yeah? And since then, it was spreading to Silicon Valley first, to software companies. And from there, a lot of other organizations around the globe, independent from the industry and from the size, were applying and implementing OKRs very successfully. It's just a couple of examples here in the Asian market: Health Metrics, Lazada, Kpis. So these are the major players here. They have been applying OKRs very successfully. And as you can see here from the companies, Samsung, ING, as a bank industry, insurance industry, car manufacturer, software. So it doesn't matter what industry it is and what size of your company has. Yeah? If you're a one-man show, you can also apply OKRs very effective. Myself, I have building up a fitness chain in 2014 with the help of OKRs and KPIs. So especially in the service industry, I was always looking how these American companies always outperform. Yeah? And so it helped me to build up high-performing teams, and also entering in 5 countries and focusing on really what matters, also with very limited resources. Yeah? So that model I have been applying, OKR especially, for more than 6 years. And in combination with KPIs, that gave me a good foundation to accelerate also in other markets. Yeah? So I'm very proud there to went to the European market and open a first Malaysian fitness brand in Germany and in Switzerland. So nothing is impossible if you really focus on what matters. And I will explain that in the further slides, how you can draft OKRs the most effective way, and what kind of pitfalls you should avoid when implementing OKRs. A couple of facts about OKRs. There was a study conducted by Harvard and Gallup in 2018. I have to mention this study was conducted in the US, but from my experience, it's the same outcome or it's the same study results also in other countries. So, and I want to showcase you why actually the OKR framework is so important. First of all, they found out that 90% of employees need clear goals and directions. 90% of companies fail to execute their strategies successfully. I think that's a very shocking number. And 95% of employees are unaware or don't understand the company vision or strategies. So as you can see here, there are 3 topics which the OKR framework can really, really help. So first of all, it brings in clarity and a clear direction and goal setting in your organization. The second one, it helps you to execute effectively your strategies. And the last one is also, it brings alignment from your vision, mission, annual goals towards your employees and teams, and gets a connection there. So I think these 3 topics are very essential and a very And this is the success factor actually of OKRs, why they are so popular now. So if you apply that in the right way, these pain points can help by applying the OKR framework. So how does it work in a traditional business? Yeah, so most of the business are structured like that. You have your culture, typically top-down approach, command and control. There's a boss, then they give the strategy, and then we have to do it, or they have to do it. Strategies, you have your annually static planning. Yeah, usually now by the end of the year, you do the planning for next year. And your tactics is it runs on long feedback cycles. Yeah, you set your goals and maybe you have a revision by the end of the quarter or semi-annually or maybe on an annually basis. Operations is more on a project management and on a waterfall development. So this is the typical waterfall goal setting. So a lot of companies still following this. It doesn't matter in which country, in which industry, maybe a little bit more flexible at the moment in the software industry, but this is the typical waterfall goal framework. So where we want to change and what a lot of companies try to achieve. So from the culture, we want to bring aligned autonomy. First of all, aligned and autonomy, how does that fit together? Yeah. So if you're aligned, then you can't have autonomy, but it works with OKRs. Vision, mission, strategy, command. Yeah. So you link what I described before, you link your OKRs, your goals to your vision and mission and bring their alignment into the organization. Strategy-wise, it's much more now data-driven. Yeah, so we have to make smarter and faster business decisions rather than waiting till the end of the cycle or the end of the quarter. Iterative, hypothesis validation, we have to validate constantly if we move towards the right direction. Tactics, safe to fail experiments. So it's okay to fail on your goals, yeah, if you have shorter feedback cycles. Yeah, I mean, for sure, Scrum, you know, there are a lot of other agile goal setting frameworks, but OKRs fits very well into that one. Short feedback cycles. Operations, agile development, and OKRs is what I said is only one of the toolbox, yeah, of agile tool sets. Yeah, so you have like Scrum, you have like Kanban, OKRs, and so on. So this is actually where OKRs cover everything and try to avoid this traditional framework and break this silo effect, which I also explain later in the following slides. So where does the OKR framework fits in the world of objective? First of all, you have your vision and mission, then followed by your strategic objectives, tactical objectives, key results, initiatives, and tasks. From a cadence, your vision and mission you set between 5 and 10 years, your strategic objectives between 1 and 3 years, and as you can see here, the OKRs cover the most of the cases, the quarterly goal setting framework. Yeah, by the way, it doesn't have to be quarterly. It can be also between 1 and 6 months, depending on your rhythm and heartbeat of your organization. So as you can see here, you have your objectives, you have your key results, which you link to your objective, and you have your task, your action plan, which you link to your key results. So the action plan is sometimes neglected. So I call it, instead of OKR, I call it Okra, yeah, the Asian vegetable. So the action plan is, what do you do in order to achieve your key results? So let me explain a little bit further how that works. So as you can see, execution plan is very important. John Doerr, who introduced OKRs to Google, he said, create vision, fail on execution. Ideas are easy, execution is everything. So in my business, I have to sign a lot of NDAs because companies sharing their strategies with us. But most of the time also I say I don't have any problem, but it's more about, I don't have even the time to execute. Yeah, if you have a great idea, I don't have the time to execute. So great ideas need to have a very effective execution plan, and their OKRs help. OKRs is for me the best execution plan worldwide to achieve your ambitious goals. So the OKR framework helps to magnify and enlarge your bigger vision or your strategic goals. Yeah? So they make it feasible. A simple explanation of OKRs is, and all these points we cover in the following slides, it brings alignment and engagement around measurable and dynamic goals. And usually you set it on a quarterly basis, but between 1 and 6 months, it's okay. So alignment and engagement, these are the keywords. So this we will cover in the following slides. Measurable and dynamic. Measurable, easy to understand. You measure it on a constant basis. And dynamic means it's not carved in stone. Yes, you can change your key results on a weekly basis if you want, or you can adjust them if you think you move towards the wrong direction. So that makes the OKR framework dynamic, and and the alignment engagement, what I mentioned before, is a essential part of the OKR framework. So 4 superpowers of the OKRs is focus and commitment to priorities. Yeah. So what does it mean? Yeah. And I will cover that in the upcoming slides. What is actually, for example, the difference between KPIs and OKRs? So OKRs are really there to focus on one essential part. Yeah, maybe you have only 1 OKR, 2 OKRs, that's it. Yeah. Alignment and connection for teamwork. You want to break the silo effects of your teams. The best way is with OKRs. You want to share maybe key results with each department. You want to see what dependencies you have in each department with your goals. Or you set your goals around this teamwork idea. Stretch for amazing, for sure you have heard that one. I have to say that also in different countries there's a different definition of stretching. Yeah, so we can't always stretch because there's also tiring. Yeah, so we have also our daily work which we need to do. So OKRs are there actually to unleash the creativeness, yeah, and that I mean by stretching. Yeah, think outside of the box, and it should be fun. Yeah, so that's why the less OKRs you have, the better it is. Focus on really what matters, and then this amazing will be unleashed. Track progress. I think that's very essential with OKRs to track your progress at least on a weekly basis. Yeah, and people want to know where they stand, or teams want to know where they stand, and this is very rewarding. There are a lot of studies around tracking progress, what kind of motivation factor that brings into an organization. So this tracking the progress and where you stand for the self-development of employees and team members is essential part of OKRs. Very simple. There are 4 simple steps of OKRs, how to outperform or how to implement them. That's why OKRs are very popular. It's easy to understand, but it's not easy to implement, yeah, or to draft. Yeah. So let's start first. We set our vision and mission. Yeah, so that's the overall goal is 5 to 10 years. Then you link your objective to your vision. Now imagine you are sitting in the car. So you want to drive, let's say, from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur, but you don't know really how to drive, which road you should take. And but you know exactly you want to go to Kuala Lumpur. So now the key results is actually your dashboard in your car. Yeah? So it's your navigation system. Do you drive to the right direction? And the 4th step is you have your task in initiatives, which indicates if you have still enough fuel in your tank. So actually, what do you do in order to achieve your key results? So these are the 4 steps: set vision, set objectives, set key results, and set your action plan, task, initiatives. So everything is linked together. Easy to understand. Yeah. So let's go straight away into an example of an objective. Yeah. So we say, where do you want to where do you want to where we want to be? Where do I need to go? Yeah. So as an example, conquer the Singaporean market, to conquer the Malaysian market, become a great place to work, make customer love my product. So as you can see here, it's very easy to understand, very short sentences. And I also mixed it up, yeah, with external and internal OKRs, objectives. Yeah. So the first one, conquer the Singaporean and Malaysian market, is an external objective, as well as the last one, make customer love my product. The second one, become a great place to work, is an internal one. So I would also strongly advise you mix up your objective. You have an external as well as an internal one. So why is the internal one important? Because then you show also as an HR manager, as a HOD, as an executive CEO, that you care about your people. Become a great place to work. So you have to think about, so what does that mean? So it's a big sentence, very vague, very ambitious. So now I have to think about really what moves the needle towards my goal. So mix it up, internal and external. So just a couple of examples. Internal, external, we just covered it. Successfully launch a product. That could be external objective. Internal, increase employee engagement or increase employee job recommendation. Yeah? So especially the last one, of course, yeah, if your employees, yeah, they recommend you as an employer, then you must have a great place to work at. Yeah. So, but then you have to think about what kind of key results you need to add in order to make that achievable. So these are actually very ambitious goals, as you can see, and very aspirational. So it needs a lot of brainstorming. Yeah. And you should only focus on a couple of OKRs. If you start with OKRs, only implement one OKR first, because it takes a lot of resources too, and a lot of team meetings, brainstorming sessions. And if you have like 30, 20 OKRs, which I see in a lot of organizations, then they come to us, and I feel more like we are an OKR clinic. So we have to revise it, we have to start again. So rather do it by this session. I think it's also very helpful, hopefully, that I can tell you a couple of pitfalls, what to avoid. Yeah, start first with a pilot group, yeah, to introduce OKRs and make that a success, and start first with one OKR. Yeah, because that's not easy. You have to train your OKR muscle first in order to get better and better. So very easy. I can see a lot of times people just, or organizations just take, let's say, kind of KPIs and turn that into an OKR. It's drafted in 1 minute. Yeah? But if it's drafted in 1 minute, it's not a good objective and not a good OKR. So increase sales, double my user base, or 2 million in revenue. It's too easy. It's too straightforward. You don't think outside of the box. Yeah? So that's for me a pinned up KPI. It's not an OKR. And this will create more frustration in the organization. A good objective could be own the coffee retail market in Malaysia, Singapore, launch an awesome MVP that delights first adopters. So that's very clear, very vague what you want to achieve. And yeah, very ambitious, very ambitious. So then you have to think outside of the box. Yeah, of course, the output of this objective is, of course, that you want to have more sales, that you want to have more customers. Yeah, but this, what I mentioned before, these bad objective examples, is too straightforward. Yeah? And you also can think about how can you, let's say, for example, if you have an unhealthy KPI, how can you make it healthy again? By using OKRs. Yeah. So especially if you have not the sales you want to achieve, yeah, you decreasing or it's stabilized maybe, but you want to increase your sales. So think outside of the box. What OKRs will help you in order to achieve it. So that's what I said. Think outside of the box. That's very important, and only implement 1 or 2 OKRs maximum at the beginning. Yeah, now we see we want to see, okay, what kind of key results you can implement to make an objective measurable. Yeah? So let's take become the market leader in my industry as an objective example. And as a key result, you can choose increase daily active users to 1 million. Yeah, maybe that's too much, maybe to 2,000 or 500, whatever. But as you can see here, you need to know your industry. Yeah, so you need to, of course, be very honest to yourself, to your organization. How do you know you achieved your goal? Yeah, you achieved your objective. How do you know you are the market leader? So you need to define this market leader further in your key results. So if you know your peer group, yeah, your competitors, your benchmark, yeah, then maybe this daily active users of 1 million, this is our monthly active users. This is your benchmark. And if you have achieved it, then you achieved also your goal. You're at your destination. Yeah, example of key results. So key results, what we mentioned before, it indicates you if you get closer to your destination. Yeah, this is your dashboard, your navigation system in your car. Are you still on track to Kuala Lumpur? Are you still on the way, or are you actually heading to the wrong direction? Yeah. So make customer love my product. Let's take this objective. And how can we define that further? So as an objective, as a key result, number one, customer satisfaction score of 90%. Key result number two, increase review rating from 4 to 4.5 and reduce support reply time to 30 minutes. So as you can see here, if I all fulfill my key results, most likely my customer love my product. So, but that needs a lot of brainstorming session and a lot of adjustments during the OKR cycle. I haven't met any organization who had the perfect setup of key results in their OKRs. So it's always a constant adjustment. That's why you have these weekly meetings or these weekly stand-up meetings that you report, or your team members report on a key result level. How is the progress? Maybe 2 or 3 minutes every week. And if you're still heading to the right direction. If not, yeah, then you discuss further. So what could be the reason? Yeah, you ask further questions, and if it's necessary, you can adjust your key results on a weekly basis or monthly basis, or you can replace it completely. Yeah? So this, we call it dynamic agile goal setting. Go to the next slide. Yeah, I mentioned that before. So there are two systems, yeah, which are very important. And I see in Asia, especially Malaysia and Singapore, there are a lot of KPIs already in place. So we call them roof shots. So this is very good, a very good base actually compared to other countries, which they haven't implemented KPIs, or they even don't know that they have KPIs. Yeah? But here it's a good performance culture, tracking culture already. Yeah? So KPIs is your business as usual. It requires clear action, your roof shots. Yeah? On the other side, you have your aspirational goals, which we call moonshots. If you achieve 60, 70%, it's already achieved. You think outside of the box. These are outcome driven, means what do you want to achieve by the end of the quarter, by the end of the OKR cycle. It shows future ambitions. So these are your OKRs. So I strongly recommend that you use both systems. So I can see some companies, they just want to get rid of KPIs and totally focusing on OKRs, which I think it's the wrong approach. Yeah? You should have your KPIs in order to fulfill your financial obligation. If you don't have them, there is no way to follow up with your aspirational goals. Of course, in the startup scene, let's say in the software industry, there's a lot of funding going on. So companies, some companies I see, they only focus on aspirational goals. Maybe there are a couple of KPIs, but they just want to conquer the market as fast as possible. Yeah, we call this blitz scaling. Yeah, so they use OKRs in order to conquer markets. Yeah? And then they forgot a little bit about their KPIs. But 99% of companies, they should have both systems. Yeah? So it's essential. Yeah. So let me go a little bit further in this OKR and KPI difference. Yeah. So what are the main factors of OKRs and how you can differentiate them? First of all, you have your OKRs. This shows they are action-orientated goals. Yeah. So what we displayed before, these are the Okr, this action plan which is involved, and KPIs on the other side that measure the health of your business. Yeah. So if usually you measure marketing, sales numbers. So these are typical KPIs. Define and measure advancements. Yeah. So what do you want to achieve in the future? Yeah. What kind of big steps you want to make? And on the other side, KPIs measure business as usual. Yeah. So yeah, so again, these financial numbers, sales, turnover, and so on. Focus on outcome. Yeah. On one side, OKRs, what do I want to achieve? Where do I want to be at the end of the quarter? The desired outcome. And on the other side, KPIs focus on the output. Yeah. So what do you put in, then you get it out. Yeah. So this is the typical output. The lagging indicators, yeah, what I focus now, future focused on the OKR side, it's directional. On the other side, it's the lagging indicators, which most of the time you measure something which is in the past. Yeah? So like sales, turnover, mentioned before. OKRs should be aggressive and bold. I mean, should be linked to your strategic objectives and strategies, as well to your vision and mission. And it helps you to move closer to this bigger picture. On the other side, KPIs monitors the steady state, yeah, and provides benchmarks. Yeah. So how do you stand there, let's say, compared to your competitors? OKRs have a set time frame, yeah, and usually they change quarter to quarter or OKR cycle to OKR cycle. By the way, you also can carry forward OKRs if it's needed. Yeah. So if you haven't achieved them, then you can carry forward to the next cycle, but not too many cycles. Otherwise, it becomes more like a strategic objective, like a 1 to 3 years objective. KPIs, yeah, measured on an ongoing basis, and they stay the same from quarter to quarter. Yeah. So these are the big differentiators between OKRs and KPIs. So ask yourself the questions: when do we have an OKR and when do we have a KPI? Are you doing anything differently? So that's typically an indicator for OKRs. Is there already an established process? Yeah, so you measure something constantly with not a lot of changes. Yeah, so that's a KPI. Are we building, improving, and innovating? That's a very essential part of our OKRs. You want to improve your process, or you want to launch a new product. Yeah, so that's something where OKRs plug in. Yeah? And will we continue to do what we already do? Yeah, so we're measuring on a constant basis. So these are KPIs. So ask this question. Yeah. So do you really want to achieve something by building, improving, innovating? I think that's a very good question. So there, use OKRs. Otherwise, use your KPIs, yeah, and leave the KPIs there. Don't turn your KPIs into a kind of OKR. Yeah? Just for the sake for having an OKR in your organization and just implementing it, it will not help you. So really focus on what matters and what you can improve or build or innovate. So let's imagine you have a coffee place. Yeah? So you run a coffee place in Singapore or in Kuala Lumpur, and the outcome is you want to have happy customers. So this is an objective. I want to increase the happiness of my customers. So how can you measure that? Yeah, now you have to measure this happiness factor. And so let's use the operational process where you can then draft your OKRs, your key results, especially for each of these processes or inputs or outputs. Yeah. So first of all, you have your input. Yeah. you have your coffee beans, you have your water, the time you spend. Then you have your processes, yeah, so the efficiency, how you make the coffee, the quality process. And then the output, the coffee itself, what kind of coffee, cappuccino, coffee with different flavors you are producing. Yeah? So now you can think about, okay, we want to have happy customers. So what do I need to change? Yeah, for example, in the process, what do I need to innovate? What kind of processes need to be adapted or need to be changed? So let's say this input. As a key result, you can say, I want to source 3 new coffee beans with certain quality standards from Indonesia, for example. So that can be a key result in the input sector. The processes could be a key result. I want to hire 3 baristas with certain certifications and certain skills. So that's a process key result. And as an output key result, I want to have at least 3 new flavors with customer satisfaction of, when you do surveys, with customer satisfaction of at least 90%. So as you can see now, your happy customers, which are very vague, now you can measure that. You can look into your operations, yeah, and see, okay, I have to change something on the input side, I have to change something on the process side, and also on the output side. This is just an example in the coffee business, but it can be applied in any kind of industries. Yeah? So look on your product side, processes, the output side, what you can change and what you can influence. Yeah? And how can you measure it? That's the most important. How can you measure your key results, and then you know that you're moving towards your outcome, in this case, to have happy customers. Yeah, output is something what you do. Yeah, so you have your input and then you have your output. And outcome is something that happens as a consequence what you do. So that's the essential part between KPIs, also KPIs output more, and outcome more OKRs. So what do you have to change, innovate, and so on, yeah, in the process? As a consequence, then you have your outcome. Best practices of OKRs. So you should have at maximum level 5 objectives OKRs on each level. Yeah, so you have your company level, team level, and individual level. Yeah, but please start with 1 OKR first. Yeah, so that's totally fine, and bring then alignment in your organization by aligning your team members to your bigger picture. And also maybe your squad teams, yeah, if you have a cross-functional OKR. And then you can add more OKRs in the next cycle if you feel comfortable. Yeah? So the best way is, I mentioned that before, is implement or start with a pilot group. Start with people who are very ambitious about, not only about OKRs, but are very ambitious about development, about educating themselves, yeah, getting excited about new things. So choose between 3 and 5 people in this pilot group in order to start. And then every member of this pilot group then has a lead as a key result. So it's responsible for 1 key result. So then you have a good example for the whole organization if that works. And most likely that works. I can see that in a lot of organizations we are training and coaching. If they start with a pilot group with ambitious people, they are involved, and then they make it a success, then other team members want to follow too. Otherwise, if you just implement it without any reason and people just thinking, oh, there's another tool, another work, there's a lot of motivation, not a lot of drive in the organization to implement that in the whole organization at once. Yeah, so and then you want to press it through. That's a wrong approach. Yeah, so please start with a pilot group first. You have 2 to 5 key results per objective, yeah, to make it measurable. So we explained that before. And you set your OKRs between 1 and 6 months. Yeah, so if you read a lot of books or see a lot of videos, they are always talking about quarterly. but nothing to say against it to have a 1 to 6 month cycle. Because I also can see, let's say, if you want to combine OKRs with Scrum, with other Agile framework, then I see also that, let's say in the software industry, a lot of organizations, they use a 1 month cycle. Yeah? So to combine it with Scrum and to link it with their goals. So, and it should be, should follow your heartbeat of your organization. Yeah. So that's why OKRs, they can be adjusted to your organization, to your performance culture. Yeah. So just take this as a guideline, and it's not carved in stone. Yeah. So just take it as a framework, and you can adjust it. So review OKRs on a weekly basis. That's important because you want to track your, you want to measure your key results if you move closer to your destination. So there are a couple of things you can measure it by Excel tools, Excel files, Google Sheets, but also there are OKR software out there. So, so just get started, but make it measurable and easy, accessible for your team members to update the progress of your key results. Make it transparent and online. So OKRs, of course, are there, is that everyone knows who is working on what. But I also have to say there can be a couple of OKRs which you can hide, for example, R&D, or maybe some financial numbers you don't want to share. But the idea behind OKRs is you should make it transparent and online or available, so you can make it online available, then it's easier to monitor it for the whole organization. Sweet spot, what I said, if you achieve between 60 and 70% of your OKRs objectives, then it's considered a success, but you also can mix it actually with committed and aspirational goals. I can see it especially during the pandemic, people also shifting more to committed OKRs, yeah, that they also can achieve it. Because companies, they're also struggling, of course, financially, and they want to survive with their product they have. So they have to think maybe on their processes. And if they achieve 100%, that can be also an OKR. So you can mix it with committed as well as aspirational OKRs. OKRs are not a tool, is a tool, not a weapon. Yeah. So why do I say that? Appraisal system. A lot of people asking me, also in different countries, it works a little bit differently. So how can I link it to my appraisal system? Yeah. And so, yeah, the answer is always about, it depends. Yeah. I mean, it depends on your organization too. Yeah. If you have an organization which are very a flat hierarchy and people are not shy to share their ideas, then you can also reward objectives. Yeah. So you can say, okay, different teams have maybe different objectives, ideas, and then you can reward it, incentivize it. The best objective will win and will get incentivized. That works, by the way, quite well in Asia, I figured out. But if you have like a culture where people are afraid to share ideas, they will not unleash their creativeness. Yeah? So if they are afraid to, let's say with KPIs to achieve it, KPIs are there to achieve most of the time 100%, but if they are afraid that this has consequences on their performance appraisal, yeah, then they will lower down their expectation automatically. We call that a sandbagging system. You lower down your expectation automatically in order to achieve it. This is counterproductive. Yeah? So OKRs is there to get into the power of teams, to give them also responsibility, to make them accountable and unleash their creativeness and think about their resources. Yeah? But you need to have like a base where you make it safe for them. So for example, it could be that you have a safety net that there are no consequences for the next year or for the next 2 years if they fail. Yeah. So what we have seen in this traditional framework, yeah, people maybe are afraid to fail. In this new framework, Agile framework, it's okay to fail. Yeah. And if you learn out of your, if you learn from the failures, then you get better and better. But this culture has to be established, yeah, or you need to be slowly changed. Also, organizations ask me, or HODs ask me, so how how does it work? So where should the OKRs come from? Yeah, my simple answer is always, if it comes 100% from your teams and employees, congratulations, because that's actually you want. Yeah, you want that your teams drive your organization to the next level. Yeah, and of course there is a vision, there's an annual strategic which is given by the management. And then if 100% of these OKRs come from the teams, that's the ideal solution. But a good mixture is that 50% comes from the management and 50% comes from the teams and team members. So let's go directly into a real example by Tesla. And Tesla is actually not even shy to share some of their OKRs to their whole organization. They share it worldwide. So that's how convinced they are with their OKRs, because they're always one step ahead. So last, I picked it up. That was the OKR, an objective for Q4 2020. So they said, we want to launch the most effective battery system for Tesla's new car model worldwide. So let's see a very ambitious goal, aspirational goal. So the first key results they came up is sourcing free raw materials with a 30% better conduction rate. That's key result number one. Key result number two, developing a prototype with a 40% higher storage. And key result number three, include the battery system in the car frame. So every of these key results is very ambitious. And of course, that needed a lot of brainstorming session in teams, how to come up with the right key results. So how can you now bring alignment and engagement in your organization, and how can you cascade further down? Let's say this is a company objective to the teams and departments and employees. So key result number one, you turn into an objective of the purchasing department. Key result number two, you turn into an objective of R&D department number one. Key result number three, you turn into an objective of R&D department number two. So you can see that that's a typical, we call it explicit model, where you cascade further down your objectives or your OKRs to the lower level. Yeah, and then you can even cascade it further down. Let's say the key result on the purchasing department, you can make an objective of the employee level, team level. So this is the explicit model, where you're following more the org chart. Yeah, so I would say like 90% of companies, they're following this approach. There are also other modules, which I also explain if we have, hopefully we have more time. Let me just check my time here, if we're still in time. So we can also have like an implicit model where you build up squad teams. Yeah, so they are a little bit more independent from the company level. Yeah, or you have a hybrid solution where you have explicit, implicit, and both models. Yeah, explicit and implicit, or and. Yeah, so it's up to you how you want to structure it. But this one is the most common one, where you just cascade further down your OKRs to the next level. Objective criteria, I just go through quickly through these slides. Yeah, I think that's very important. It should be directional, tells you where to go, should be aligned to your vision, mission, annual goals. So that's why I always think about not using KPIs, really think about what you want to achieve for the annual goal, what you want to achieve for the 3 years goals. Yeah, and then you think about your OKRs, which really can help you to move to this direction. Impactful, substantial step towards that direction. Within the circle of influence, so every objective and key result has an owner, yeah, and should be also in their influence to measure it, yeah, and to achieve it. Time bound, it should have a due date. So with OKR cycles, of course, it has a due date, end of the month or end of the quarter. and not too many. I can't repeat that too often, because this is the most common mistake organizations are doing, is they just turn KPIs into OKRs, and then they have 20, 30 OKRs, which is a roadmap for failure. Yeah? So this you want to avoid. Nice to have, but also maybe must to have, is an inspirational, understandable language. Yeah? Use a very short expression of your objective, a description. If you want to describe it further, you can describe it further in a different line, and use inspiring language. Yeah? Best, strongest, what you want to achieve, yeah? And connect with your own language of your organization. Yeah? So that someone also a new employee, he doesn't have to read it twice. Yeah? So it's clearly understandable from the beginning. While setting objective, asking the right questions. Yeah? Does this feel like it has a finish line, and it is feasible with our time frame? Yeah. So can I achieve that? Yeah? If I can't achieve that, or also if I stretch and set aspirational goals, it still should be achievable also if you only achieve 60 or 70%. Is there a simpler way to say it? Yeah. So don't just downsize the size of your objectives and make it simple and easy to understand. Is this describing the problem, or do we solve a solution? Yeah. So most of the time, so as an example, for a lot of people, they have like more a problem solving, a problem. They describe a problem in the objective. Yeah. So we have we want to decrease our churn rate. Yeah. So rather than saying that, we want to increase the engagement on our website. So this is the solution you want to describe, not the problem. Objective why now, also explain as a HOD, executive HR manager, why do you have this OKR now? Why do you have this objective now? What is the reason? To get the connection to your strategy, to your vision, your mission, yeah? So that you give a reason to your team members and motivate them and educate them. Team dependency, while drafting objective, ask what teams do your objective depend on? Yeah, which teams do you collaborate with most often, and which teams depend on you, and how? So that's very important. For example, if you build up squad teams and share key results with each other, and to break these silo effects. Yeah, so I think it's a very good tool to bring alignment, also a cross-functional alignment in the organization, not only the vertical alignment. Key results criteria make the objective achievable, tells you if you get closer to your goal. So it has to be measurable, yeah, and also should be ambitious, yeah. You should feel uncomfortable a little bit by setting it, yeah. So if you always achieve your key result by 100%, you're not really stretching, yeah. So you want to unleash the creativeness of teams. You want to think outside of the box. So by setting them, it should be also key results, also outcome driven. Yeah. So what do you want to achieve? What do you want to influence? What do you want to build, and so on. Measurable, you can say, yeah, it's a kind of, could be a kind of KPI with a number. Yeah. So you should have a number in your key results, yeah, to make it measurable. Otherwise, it's you only know if you achieved it. Yeah, so it should be very clear for your other team members how you can measure it and when you should measure it. While setting key results, asking these questions: can we measure this today? And is this metric fast moving enough that we'll set it? We will see it how it changes in our time frame. So that's very important, because if you only can measure it in the next OKR cycle, you shouldn't include this key result, or only by the end of the year. So you should measure it by today. Is there a simpler way to say it? Is the same one: keep it simple, your key result, that is easy to understand. We described these key results in the earlier slides, how you can simplify them. Could this metric be confused with a similar one? Do we need to be more specific? Yeah? So also asking these questions, constantly asking questions, because then you come to the right solution and also to the right key result. Do you think these are possible in our time frame? And is it possible to achieve the objective and hitting the key results. So this is, I think, very important. For example, sometimes you hit all your key results, but in the real world, nothing is moving. So you always have, you always need to cross-check. Also, maybe it adds up in your Excel sheet or in your software. It should also add up in the real world, yeah, in the real business world. Yeah? So always have this real check, yeah, if you're really moving to the right direction. So there are also this action plan I described. You link your action plan to your key results. So it has to be specific. It can't be vague. So what do you do in order to achieve your key results, and also within your control? Yeah. So you should also achieve this task in order to move forward. Yeah. So it's also then very difficult to just outsource it, yeah, or you can delegate it. We call it also OKR contributors, yeah. So then you also have a team at least, but it should be in your influence to achieve them. Yeah, let me just quickly jump over this slide because we are still in time. I want to show you a couple of examples. City, please interrupt me if we still have like 10. Can you give me 10 minutes?
Yes, that we still have ample time, so you can go ahead. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think I just jump over a couple of slides because I want to go into a real example of OKRs. Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thanks, City. So let's see. Launch a new website. That can be a kind of objective. Design new website. Find developer. Release new website. So as you can see here, it's not really a OKR, but I see a lot of times people draft more like a task list. Yeah? So how can you make this kind of OKR into a strong one? So, and what do you want to achieve with this website? Yeah? So you convert it into a stronger one by changing the objective. Launch a higher converting website that attracts more quality leads. So as you can see here, it's not only ticking the box, launch a new website. So it's more outcome driven. What do I want to achieve by launching this new website? I want to have a higher converting website with more quality leads. So there are two aspects, quality aspects in this objective. And now we have to think about how can we measure that? Yeah. So what kind of key results now I have to add in order to measure this higher converting and these more quality leads? First one, improve visit to lead conversion rate to 5%. Find a developer with certain skills, let's say UI skills, and increase sales accepted leads to 50%. So most likely, if I achieve all these key results, I will have a higher converting website, which leads to more quality leads, yeah, if I add these key results. And of course, then leads to more, if I have an e-commerce site, leads to more sales. And this is then the output of the outcome. Yeah? So this is, once again, more thinking outside of the box, not only for the sake of having OKRs, just say, I want to double my user number or as an objective, or I want to increase my sales. That's too easy. You have to think outside of the box. What is actually the solution I want to, the outcome I want to achieve? Yeah. The next one is, let's say you want to create a help desk on your website, yeah, better search, new FAQ and a forum, yeah, on your website. Yeah? So once again, that looks like more a task list, yeah. And how can you make it stronger? By asking a lot of questions, yeah. So you ask questions until you get an OKR, yeah. Our company helps our customers succeed when they are struggling. So this is an objective, very vague, yeah. So how can you define then this help and succeed, and so when they overcome that, and when they overcome this struggling, yeah. So increase customer rating by 50%, improve rating on FAQ side by 30%, and increase daily active users on help forum to 2,000. Yeah, so you think about, hey, why should I decrease it now from 10,000 to 2,000? Because most likely, if you have a good FAQ side, maybe they don't go on your forum site because you already provide them a solution, yeah, and answer a lot of questions. So you have to really think about what moves the needle towards my objective. And for sure, this OKR, yeah, this good OKR, it's not drafted in 5 minutes. It needs time in order to achieve it, and it needs adjustment. Maybe they replaced a couple of key results and adding key results which really moving towards this direction. Yeah, I think this is the last slide I want to show you. I have so many other things, but in the short period of time, I think we need to focus on the main things I want to explain today. But this one, I think, is also very helpful to differentiate between quality and quantity OKRs. Yeah? So let's go on the level of the key result. Yeah? And you want to, on your website, you want to create 3 new features. Yeah? That is a typical quantity key result. You can measure that. Yeah? But how can you now influence these key results to be more outcome driven? Yeah? So what you actually want to achieve with this key result. Yeah? Not only on the objective side, you can be a very outcome driven also on the key result side. Create 3 new features with fewer than 5 bugs per feature. That's meaning now I have to think about it, not only adding 3 new features, I want to also have a quality aspect with 5 bugs, fewer than 5 bugs. Meaning the developer will write cleaner codes that will lead to a better customer experience on your website, higher engagement, and most likely, if you have an e-commerce site, higher sales on your website. So by defining key results, it's very essential how you define it and what is the reason behind. Yeah? So always asking these questions: why do I have this key result, and what is the outcome of this key result? So I stop sharing my screen here. Otherwise, we would take, I think, too much time. And I hand it over to you, Sitya.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Dirk, for a very elaborate, I would say, session, very detailed, I would say, explanation on OKR, the basics and, how it works on a fundamental basis. I see we have a few questions from the audience. So I believe it might take some time for you to actually explain to them. So I think I'm going to dive straight to the first question from Cheryl Chong. Thank you so much for attending and thank you for asking the question. So her question is, how do we marry OKRs and KPIs together? So a lot of departments have business as usual. They call this as a BAU. KPIs, example like targets related to timeliness, quality, or even accuracy. So how do we implement OKRs alongside this, business as usual KPIs? So yeah, over to you, Dirk.
Yeah, thanks really for this question. Actually, it's a very good question. And what I always say, if you already have KPIs in your organization, keep it there, yeah, because it's already a good measurement culture there. And OKRs, you shouldn't really marry that, but you can use OKRs in order to improve your key results. If you have an unhealthy KPI, let's say a sales number, then you can use OKRs to make it healthy again, yeah? And think outside of the boxes. What are the reasons and what solutions we should provide in order to make it healthy again? So keep your KPIs there, and on top you have your OKRs, but don't link it together. Only link it together if you think there is an unhealthy KPI. Then you can use OKRs. And don't think what I explained before, that you just turn around your KPIs into kind of OKRs, because that causes a lot of frustration in organizations. It's not really, it's business as usual. It's not really thinking outside of the box. If you just say, I want to increase my conversion rate, I want to increase my sales, I want to increase my marketing metrics. Yeah? So yeah, but that's a good question. Thanks a lot.
Right. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Cheryl. So moving on to the next question from Rick Lowe. So he was asking, how different is OKR with BSC coupled with KPI. So my understanding is BSC focused on bigger picture, that is to tie to vision,
Yeah.
and maybe mission in this case, and supported by KPIs, breaking down into smaller objectives to make it more digestible and make actionable plans accordingly lah. So what's your take on this, Dirk?
Yeah, I mean, BSC, let's say you can use, I mean, you still have, if you have that, keep that, yeah, because these are your strategic goals in these 4 different sectors. So I think that's very important, because if you have this customer sector also, you can link it easily then to your BSC on the higher level, yeah, on the strategy level, yeah, and then break it down into OKRs to measure your development towards these BSC goals or strategies. Yeah? So I think that's fantastic if you have BSCs and then add on your OKRs to this system. Yeah.
Right. I hope that answers your questions, Rick. So we have somebody asking about DAU. I think it's not DAU. I guess it's BAU, but I'm not sure if there's any meaning to the acronyms. Yeah.
Daily active user. I mean, there's so many
Right.
expressions. So you just, I was not a big fan of abbreviations, but
Right.
BAU, I think business as usual. I think, okay.
Yeah. So I think that's the questions that we have from the attendees so far. So I think one of the things that people wanted to get more clarity is actually how different are KPIs, the existing KPIs that most organization use compared to I would say OKR lah. So as you mentioned earlier, right, OKR has been in the management or maybe change management kind of like I would say setting, but taking down the, I would say, the awareness and to communicate it to come to this side of the world, it did took some time. So I was wondering if I know communication is important, so but do you have like a more kind of like a structured way of giving understanding for the employee level, so that they actually understand the importance of using OKRs in actually achieving the organization's objective for that particular set of time?
Yeah. I mean, also a good question. So let's say also this has to do with the implementation process. Yeah, especially when you start with OKRs. How do you want to cascade it further down? Yeah, do you want to first of all start with a pilot group? Yeah, or do you want to really cascade it down to all your employees or team members? So my suggestion is only advice. Yeah, also what I can see from the coaching and workshops we are giving is that I strongly recommend start first with a pilot group. Yeah? Because if you start that like a KPI system, and everyone knows KPIs, it's like the boss said it, we have to follow. And if you implement OKRs in this way, yeah, and we have to achieve that in this time frame, it's for me like more like a KPI system. So just start it with a pilot group and then roll it out, then slowly to the next OKR cycle. Take your time. Rome is not built in one day. Yeah, take your time. Choose take a time of a year. Yeah, at least 3 OKR cycles. Yeah, if you have this quarterly approach, that you get better and build up your OKR muscle. So, and then when you're asking me also this also about this engagement and how can you explain it to your organization, the big part is always this why now. Why, and then is also the reflection for the executive team. What is the big picture? Why do we do it now? Because we want to have happy customers. Only this one is a huge OKR. Yeah? So it's enough. Yeah. So now you have to think about the teams. So how can they come up with their resources in order to be part of that bigger picture? So let's say you have a contact lens manufacturing in Malaysia or somewhere else, yeah, and then how do you want to explain to the guy at the assembly line or manufacturing line to connect to this bigger picture? Yeah, you can just So we want to have happy customers, and the OKRs are there, that your part is so essential, because if you, for example, make a failure on your production line, that has a direct impact on the happiness of the customer, because they can't get the right product at the right time or in a different way. So that if they put that in the morning in the contact lenses in the morning in their eyes, so they feel unhappy because there is a production error or whatever. So this has a direct impact on the customer. Yeah? So just link it back. It's not only like producing contact lenses. There's something more behind it. Yeah?
Right.
So, just always link it to the bigger picture, also to the other team members. Yeah?
Right. That's a very interesting analogy that you use for, manufacturing. I think it's really even harder to get it down to the, bottom of, I would say the employee kind of like, hierarchy. So I think that's a quite a good analogy. So I'm just going to go back to the Q&A. So I think from the anonymous attendee, so I think this particular person is referring to one of your slides earlier, that converting a weak OKR into a strong one. So perhaps if you want to go back to that particular slides, if you would like to share and maybe I would say highlight back if that's something that might be, I think the previous slides. I think this is the DAU one, I think.
Rika,
Right, DAU. I think the final points over there, the decrease DAU on help forum to 2K, down from 10K.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I think they wanted to know what does this DAU means. I think you mentioned it briefly. It's daily active users.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't have a lot of space there, so I just it's daily active users. I'm not a big fan of these abbreviations, but it means daily active users. Yeah.
Right. So in this case, is one of the, I would say, OKR is actually to decrease the daily active users on help forum to 2K, meaning to reduce people who actually ask questions in the forum. Is that the context here, Dirk? Just to
yes, exactly. So
give some
once again,
clarification.
what do you want to achieve with that? So let's say rather than increasing it, you say, okay, if I decrease that, so that means like I have a fewer questions. So maybe my product gets better. Yeah? So or my website gets better, more self-explaining.
Right. Okay. So I guess this is one of the examples that people can actually use lah. So I hope that answered your question to the anonymous attendee that asked the question. Thank you so much. I think it's good because I also kind of like missed the particular abbreviation earlier. So I'm looking for more questions if there's any. I'm just going to give it more like maybe 30 seconds or like 1 minute. 1 minute, if that's okay with you, Dirk. Right. But I think overall, if anyone that attended the session today, in the post-event email, right, we will be directing you everyone to actually to go to the OKR Institute. They have some of the resources over there. So do look out on our, I would say, post-event email later. All right. So we have one last question. So I'll just go directly over here.
Maybe, I just wanted to share this one, okrinstitute.org.
Yep.
Tons of free resources and also OKR Foundation course, which I explained today. If you want to have a refresher, is free. Please feel free. There are also OKR templates, so you can use it for free. We also have a software which is free. You also can just click on the OKR template and free resources, and then you get directed to the right templates or
right.
the software.
Right. Okay. So thanks for the explanation, Dirk. So we have one anonymous attendee, or we have some shy attendees today. No worries. So are you able to provide a better OKR in terms of HR's recruitment process? Perhaps maybe such as launching an effective onboarding process in this case? Yeah.
Ken? I mean, there are so many HR objectives which you can include, and this, what I mentioned before, these are your internal objectives. So mix it up. You have external OKRs, so you focus on your customer products, but also bring it from an HR point of view, bring an internal OKR into this mix. So then you show as a HR manager, as a CEO, HOD, that you care about the people. And you can package that in a different way. You can just say what I mentioned before. You want to increase the employee recommendation by 30% or whatever, and then you can package that in a different way.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for the question. Okay, another question. I'm going to answer it now because this person was asking if we can share the URL. So I'm going to share it on the chats for everyone to have a look, and I'm going to actually resend it also in case you guys missed it. So I'm just going to paste it here, so you guys can have a look of the resources that everyone can look into lah. So I think later what I will be doing is also to actually help engage more information from the attendees in terms of the feedback, and also what do they think of the whole entire session, in terms of their understanding about OKRs, and perhaps share it with you later, if that's okay. So I guess we're almost I would say done, and I believe there's we already answered all the questions. So I would like to extend our heartfelt thank you to everyone who attended the session today. Be on the lookout on our post event email, and we have more events coming up in January, brand new year. And I hope this OKR introductory course session today will help you to kickstart a great 2022 ahead. Special thanks to Dirk for a very insightful session. And I do really hope that maybe we can have a spin-off from here, maybe a smaller focus group discussion. I mean, who knows? We can even invite some of our attendees today for a more closer look in terms of how they can apply the OKR within their organization. So on that note, stay on vigilance for COVID-19, contain the spread. Make sure you do your weekly tests, follow the SOP. So to everyone, thank you again. Stay safe, and thank you so much. Thank you, Dirk. See
So,
you
thank you,
soon.
guys.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me.
Bye.
Thanks.